Hey, what is the best Paul McCartney solo album?
Oh, that's easy. I'd say Band on the Run.
I think you'd be right. Fans, critics, most people would agree. Band on the Run for Paul McCartney's solo career, that's the high watermark.
It really is the gold standard, but when we look back at it now with 50 years of hindsight, it feels inevitable.
Right. Of course, he made a masterpiece. He's Paul McCartney.
Exactly. But if you actually go back to 1973, that outcome wasn't just uncertain. It looked statistically impossible.
It really did. And that is exactly what we are getting into today. We're looking at the whole era around the creation of that album, especially with the insights from the new documentary, Man on the Run.
Which is fantastic. It's directed by Morgan Neville. It premiered at Telluride, and it's coming to Amazon Prime. And it just completely reframes the entire narrative.
It really does. Because we have this caricature of Paul, don't we? The thumbs-up guy.
Yeah.
The cheery one.
Yeah. The idea that genius just, falls out of his pockets while he's making tea, we assume it's all effortless.
Totally. The guy who wrote silly love songs.
Mm-hmm.
We look at Wings now and see the stats. 7 top 10 hits, selling out huge stadiums. And we just assume it was a straight line to success after the Beatles.
But in early 1973, that line was pointing straight down. Critics weren't just mixed on his first few solo albums. They were predatory.
Vicious.
Yeah. You had Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway, which had some good moments for sure, but the press was openly asking if John was the real creative engine of the Beatles.
And if Paul was just the gloss.
They were calling him toast. And that's the context where Man on the Run starts. This isn't Paul recounting his glory days.
No, it's a survival thriller.
It's basically a disaster movie. That's what makes it so different. Most rock docs are just, a victory lap.
Right.
This is a story about a man on a precipice. He has the legacy of Sgt. Pepper, but he's facing total irrelevance.
So what does a wealthy, anxious rock star do in that situation?
Apparently, he looks at a map, finds a place he's never been, and decides to record an album in Lagos, Nigeria.
Which sounds so romantic and adventurous.
It does, but let's be clear about the practical side of things. It wasn't just artistic wanderlust.
You mean the taxes?
Oh, absolutely. In 1973, the top marginal tax rate in the UK was 98%.
98. I can't even wrap my head around that.
It means for every pound you earned over a certain amount, you kept 2 pence. So there was a huge financial incentive to, get out of the country.
But he did want a different sound, too, right? A different rhythm.
For sure. He wanted to shake off that stiff London studio scene.
Well, he definitely shook things off.
Yeah.
But the chaos started before they even left the ground. This is the part of the story that just blows my mind every time.
They were rehearsing, ready to go, a 5-piece band.
And then the phone rings. Henry McCullough, the lead guitarist.
Quits.
Denny Sewell, the drummer.
He quits too, literally hours before the flight.
They just walked.
They walked. A mix of money disputes and, honestly, the pressure of working with Paul at that time. He was demanding. So just picture that moment.
Yeah.
You're Paul McCartney. You've booked a studio on another continent. You have the songs that you think can save your career.
And you have no lead guitarist and no drummer.
It's an absolute nightmare. So who is actually left? Who got on the plane?
Just the core.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, his wife Linda, and Denny Lane, the guitarist who stayed loyal.
That's it. That was the band Wings.
And we have to talk about Linda here because the public perception of her musical contribution back then was, let's just say it was unkind.
Unkind is very diplomatic. It was vicious. The narrative was that she was dead weight, that Paul just dragged her along and she couldn't play or sing.
So the pressure on him wasn't just make a hit album. It was prove your wife belongs here, all while you're down 2 crucial members and heading into a place you know nothing about.
And when they land in Lagos, that reality hits them like a ton of bricks. This was not a vacation.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The documentary is so good at visualizing this, it feels visceral.
You can almost feel the humidity through the screen. The studio, EMI Logos, was unfinished.
Right, it wasn't soundproofed.
Yeah.
There were lizards crawling on the mixing desk.
The gear was constantly overheating, breaking down, just a mess.
And then the mugging.
This is the absolute turning point of the whole story. Paul and Linda decide to go for a walk one night against advice.
And they get held up at knife point.
Yeah. And Paul really thought that was it, that this was the end. But the thieves took something way more valuable than just cash. They took a bag.
The
bag with all the demo tape.
And crucially, the notebooks with all the handwritten lyrics for the entire album gone.
Just try to imagine that creative panic. You're there to record, the songs are ready, and suddenly the source code is just gone.
It's unbelievable.
So he didn't just have to perform the songs, he had to reconstruct the entire album from memory. Every verse, every bridge, every little turn of phrase.
While, as you see in the film, he's just drenched in sweat. That footage is so intense. Paul looks physically wrecked.
And that physical exhaustion is compounded by the musical workload. Because you have to remember.
No drummer.
No drummer.
That's the technical feat that I just find astounding. When you listen to a track like Jet or Band on the Run, you hear a full, powerful band.
But it's an illusion. It's a sonic architecture built almost entirely by one person.
So first, he's on the drums.
Yep. Which, he's a decent drummer, but it's not his main instrument. It takes a lot of energy. And because he's a lefty, he's often playing a right-handed kit, which gives it this really punchy, direct feel.
Then he puts down the drum track and picks up the bass.
Right. And we all know he's a genius on the bass. But now he has to lock that bass line into the drum part he just played.
Then the guitars. Then the keyboards.
It's incredible. Denny Lane talks about it in the film. He said he'd never seen a work ethic like it. It's all overdubbing. But Paul wasn't just overdubbing a solo.
He was overdubbing the entire band.
He was building a wall of sound, brick by himself.
It's almost maniacal when you think about it.
It was pure desperation. There's a moment in the doc where Paul says it forced him to rely on his own instincts, and that it was terrifying but also liberating.
When you have no safety net, you don't play it safe.
You play to survive.
And speaking of dangers, the internal struggle was one thing, but the external pressure in Lagos was building too. We have to talk about Fela Kuti.
Yes. This is such a significant part of the story, and the film covers it really well.
For anyone who doesn't know, Fela Kuti is an absolute legend, the pioneer of Afrobeat, a huge political and musical force in Nigeria.
And he hears Paul McCartney is in town, and he is not happy about it.
Not at all.
Fela went on the radio and publicly accused McCartney of coming to Nigeria to steal the black man's music.
Wow.
He was convinced Paul was there to exploit the local rhythms, package them up, and sell them to the West.
And given the history of rock and roll, that accusation isn't totally out of left field.
Not at all. It was a concern grounded in a lot of real history. You've got this wealthy British rock star flying into a post-colonial nation. Fela was incredibly protective of his culture.
So how did Paul handle that?
Well, in the documentary, Paul explains his side. He just says, I wasn't trying to steal anything. I'm a pop songwriter. I just wanted a change of scenery.
But the tension was real. Fela actually showed up at the studio, right?
He did. It was a full-on confrontation. Paul had to sit him down and play him the tapes.
To prove it wasn't Afrobeat.
Exactly. He had to show him that Jet and Band on the Run were, just British rock songs that happened to be recorded in Africa.
And Fela backed down. He said, yep, that sounds like you guys.
He did. It diffused the whole thing. But it's so important because it shows Paul wasn't in some isolated bubble. He was navigating a really complex cultural and political world while just trying to get this record made.
Absolutely. It adds another layer of tension to everything. But in the middle of all that chaos, the mugging, the equipment failures, the controversy, there was one person holding it all together.
And I am so glad this documentary finally gives her the credit she deserves.
Justice for Linda McCartney.
Seriously. For decades, she was treated like a prop, but Man on the Run just brings the receipts.
It's undeniable when you see it. The footage of her at the keyboards, hearing her isolated vocals.
But it's more than just her playing the parts. The film shows her creative role.
There's that amazing scene about the title track, Band on the Run, which is a really complex three-part song.
But Paul is stuck. He's wrestling with the vocal arrangement, trying to figure out the sound, and Linda just steps in.
And she doesn't just say, that's nice, dear. She suggests a specific melodic line. She demonstrates a harmony part.
And it's that weird synthesizer sound that really defines the album's texture.
The Moog synthesizer.
Exactly. Because she wasn't a classically trained pianist, she didn't play correct parts. She played textures, she played moods, that eerie sort of sci-fi sound on 1985. That's all Linda.
Paul even admits it in the film. He said something like, that was Linda's genius. She had incredible instincts.
She was the glue, both emotionally for Paul and sonically for the record. I honestly don't think Band on the Run gets finished without her. She was the co-pilot in the truest sense.
It really reframes the whole thing as a survival story for the two of them.
Yeah.
Which is why I think this documentary hits differently than a lot of the other Beatles stuff we've gotten lately.
It's a completely different genre. I mean, think about Get Back. That was about the dissolution of a family.
Or that series with Rick Rubin, McCartney 3, 2, 1.
Which was incredible, but that was a masterclass. That was Paul the genius explaining his magic tricks.
Right, very technical.
But Man on the Run is about vulnerability. It's about crisis. You see Paul looking exhausted, unsure, totally human. It strips away the legend and just shows you the work.
And for people who do want that granular technical detail, there's that companion book, right?
Yes, Tom Doyle's book, Man on the Run. It came out back in 2013. The documentary gives you the emotional journey. The book gives you the forensic files.
The session logs, what mics they used.
Exactly. If you want to know how they got that fuzz tone on Jet, the book has it. But if you want to feel the sweat, you watch the movie.
It's just amazing to think about that timeline. He's on the ropes in early 73, goes through absolute hell in Lagos, and the album comes out in December.
And the reaction was immediate. It didn't just chart, it exploded. Triple platinum, won 2 Grammys. It completely restored his critical standing overnight.
The critics must have had serious whiplash.
They were eating crow by the bucket load. But I think for Paul, it was more than just sticking it to the press. It was validation.
Yeah.
He proved he could exist outside the shadow of the Beatles, that he could build something massive from the ground up, even when the universe was holding a knife to his throat.
It puts the songs in such a new light. When you hear Band on the Run, now, stuck inside these 4 walls, it's not just a cool story, it's a diary entry.
It sounds urgent. It sounds like an escape, because it was. They were running from the critics, running from the taxes, literally running from muggers.
There's a moment near the end of the documentary that really got to me. It's Paul today, an older man.
At the piano.
Yeah, he's sitting there playing the opening chords of the song, and he stops and says that every time he plays it, he's right back in Lagos. He can feel the heat, the fear.
But also the thrill of creating something.
That feeling never gets old, he says.
And that's really the heart of it. We see these icons as untouchable, but in 1973, he was just a guy trying to hold it together for his family and for his art.
It's a great lesson. No matter how bad it gets, keep playing the bass. Keep hitting the drums.
And bring your wife to the studio. Her instincts are probably better than yours.
Listen to Linda.
Always listen to Linda.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Whenever you feel like knowing more about the Beatles, visit us at BeatlesRewind.com. It's the Beatles. All day, every day, 8 days a week. Cass, we'll do it again tomorrow.
You bet. I wouldn't miss it.
Until next time, when you listen.
Your mind conducts its own symphony.